So it's very nice to have something to dunk our soft pretzels in. So we're going to make a beer cheese sauce. So in my pan already I have some shallots that are sweating, which just means to cook over moderate heat in some butter. And then we just throw a little pinch of salt on there, and that helps the shallots to break down quicker and it helps them cook faster. So if you don't have shallots at home or you don't feel like braving the grocery store to go get some, a regular onion will work just fine here, or even something like a scallion will work. Once those are pretty soft, we're going to add our garlic. Garlic cooks very quickly, so we just want to add it last moment before we either add a liquid or turn the pan off. We are also going to add our flour to that pan. So essentially what we're creating here is a roux. So a roux is a combination of fat and flour that acts as a thickening agent. So I'm just going to stir that up here with my rubber spatula. And then I'm going to spread the shallots out that are coated with that butter and flour mixture. Let them sit on the bottom of the pan. Lots of times in classes we see that people want to move things around in the pan constantly. But if they're not sitting and getting that good contact with the pan, they're not actually doing the cooking that needs to happen. So we let it go for just about a minute or so until we'll almost see that it looks a little bit white and foamy. And then once we see that, we can turn everything in the pan over and then again let it sit for another minute or so before we're going to start going in with our liquids. I'm going to add a little bit of dried mustard powder, and because all spices are what's known as oil soluble or fat soluble, if you cook them in the fat first, it will help bloom that spice and help make it taste even more fragrant. So I just cook that for about 20 to 30 seconds before we start adding our liquids. And I can really smell the flour starting to smell almost a little bit nutty, or definitely like toast. So now we're going to start going in with our liquids. So I'm going to add some beer here. And this can be whatever type of beer that you like or that you have on hand. So just a little bit at a time here. So that was probably about 1/4 cup. And make sure that you stir completely before you add any more of that liquid. Make sure it's completely absorbed. You can see it absorbs it very, very quickly. So it almost looks like mashed potatoes here. Okay, and then we're going to go in with a little bit more beer. I probably would steer away from anything super, super dark here or anything that has a fruitiness to it. That won't lend itself very well to the cheese sauce, but really any other type of beer is good here. I don't happen to like something that has a little bit more bitterness to it, like an IPA, but if that's your preference and that's what you have in the house, by all means, go ahead and use it. All right, so I've added all of my beer now, and now as we can see, the sauce is already a little bit more liquidy. So it's able to accept more liquid at a time. So we can really just add the rest of our milk here. All right. So it's looking pretty thin right now, but that's because it hasn't thickened just yet. If it already looked thick by the time we added the remainder of our liquid, it would be like wallpaper paste by the time it finished thickening. So once we bring this up to a gentle boil, that's when it's really going to thicken, and you'll see how much that roux takes effect, and it makes our sauce nice and thick. As my sauce is coming up to a gentle boil, I want to make sure that I'm stirring this every so often. We don't need to stir constantly, but again, every so often make sure we're not sticking to the bottom of the pan, and I'm stirring with a rubber spatula. Because lots of times at home our saucepans can be straight-sided. So the roux can get caught in the corners of the pan, and then that roux can scorch and it can make your whole sauce taste burnt. So stir with a rubber spatula that you can actually get into those corners, and you will avoid that burnt flavor. Our sauce has come up to a gentle boil, and we can see how really nice and thick it has gotten. It'll coat the back of my spoon. So now that's how we know we're ready to start adding our cheese. Our cheese is already shredded. This is just a mix of some cheddar and some nice melting cheese, like a Monterey Jack. But you can use whatever cheese that you have in the house or whatever cheese you like. It really doesn't matter what type of cheese it is. Just we need to make sure we add it little by little. Make sure it is melted before you add any more. Because cheeses vary in the amount of salt that's in them, I'm going to taste my sauce before I salt just to see how much salt I'm going to need. Not much at all, but still we need a nice good pinch. We are going to add some Worcestershire sauce to give this a really nice depth of flavor. Okay, just about a teaspoon or so. And then because the sauce is rich and creamy and thick, we always like to cut that with a little bit of acidity. So we're adding a few drops of our favorite hot sauce just to give everything kind of a lift. Acidity does that for very creamy dishes. Okay, and then let's taste again. So delicious. You could use this for a cheese sauce for just about anything. Mac and cheese, you could use it as a fondue. You could put it on a pizza. Dealer's choice. So, but we're gonna dip our pretzels in it.